So in this video, what we're going to do is start to take a look at interactivity and how to get interactivity working with the player controller that we've created. And if you remember from earlier stuff that we've talked about, the differences between using the character controller component in Unity and the player, making a player controller using a rigid body in Unity is that the character controller ignores the physics engine. We have to build in all of the physics ourselves. Anything that we want. If we want to be able to push objects, pull objects, bounce off objects, any of that stuff we have to program onto this thing ourselves. We can't just rely on the physics engine and physics materials to do that for us. Where with a rigid body controller, it has the ability to do those things. So what we're going to do here is we're going to provide some basic interactivity for this week's assignment. You guys are going to basically make a scavenger hunt. I'm going to ask you guys to build some HUD elements and some scene transitions that will serve for the basis of interacting with this character controller. And what I would like you to do is have some interactivity using triggers. We're going to have some collectible items that you place either around a terrain scene like this or a scene that you built in Pro Builder, and the player has to go around and find all the things, and when they find all the things, they win. The level that you take it to is up to you at that point, but I want you to utilize all the stuff that we covered in this week's module to kind of piece all of these things together. So with that said, what we're going to do is we're going to create a collectible object that we can collect. So I'm going to go to the hierarchy here, and I'm going to create a 3D object, and we're going to make a cylinder. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to scale this cylinder down, and we're going to make it like a coin. And you can download some models, you can make some 3D models for your collectible asset. It doesn't have to be. I'd prefer if you didn't use this coin asset and kind of flex your development skills a little bit. But it's entirely up to you. And I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees in the X, and I am also going to increase the collider a bit using the height. I want to just check this on the radius. It looks like it's right around the coin. And we're going to turn on is trigger, right? Because we want to be able to pass through this thing. If we don't turn this into a trigger and we try to use something like on collision enter, because on collision enter uses the physics engine and a rigid body, we're not going to be able to interact with our objects with the character controller, so we have to use triggers in this particular instance. So you want to check off the is trigger option here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to detect the collider by tag. So I'm going to select the player here, and let's tag the player as player, the player CC as player. And one last thing is I want to create a material for this coin. If I rotate around to where the light is, we're going to be able to see it. So I'm going to create a new folder in the project and call this folder materials. And I'm going to add a new material with the plus button here, and I'm going to call it yellow. And I'm just going to give this a color of yellow. And then drag and drop it onto our coin here. I think I'm going to try to just brighten it up a little bit here. Bring it more towards the white area here. Increase, it's a little too bright. All right, so we'll get the coin color here. So we've got a basic collectible. Now before we run in and start creating a script, I'm just going to move this particular coin. I'm going to change this to global, and I'm going to go to my top view here, and I'm just going to move our coin to where our player is. So move it out here, go in this view here, press F to kind of focus in. I just want to see where it is in relationship to our player at the moment, and it looks like it's right in his general vicinity. I think I'm just going to lower it just a bit. There we go. So we should be able to pick that up with our player here. Alright, so we have the collectible. What we need now is a script to produce the interactivity here. So what we'll do is we will select the scripts folder, create a C# script, and I'm going to call this coin script. And I'll open that up in Visual Studio. Alright, so I could delete the update and start function from this, and what we'll do is an on trigger enter. And I'm going to change the collider parameter to call. And what we'll do is just perform a simple if here. If call.gameObject.tag is equal to player. We're going to basically just destroy this game object, and we're only going to have a handful of these in this scene for now. It's not like we're going to have hundreds of them to find. If we did, we'd want to probably implement something to do object pooling or something to make it run a little bit more efficiently. But if we're only destroying and instantiating a handful of objects, we shouldn't have to worry too much about things like garbage collection. So we have the destroying of the game object. When the player comes in, we should be able to save this. And we're going to take this coin script. As a matter of fact, I'm going to rename my cylinder coin. And I'm going to drag and drop the coin script right onto it. And it should be there. Alright, so let's give this a quick test. Make sure your player is tagged as player. And let's give it a quick test. So there's our coin. We walk into it. It's gone. Perfect. Working exactly as intended. Alright, so we have the coin collectible there. We're going to want some sort of HUD element that keeps track of how many coins they've collected, or how many coins are left that they need to find on this scavenger hunt. It's probably be a better mechanic to have it start off with, oh, there's 10 objects out there and you have to collect them. But for now, what we'll do is we'll just increment these in the HUD, and I'll leave that up to you to program it. So what we'll do is we'll create a new UI, and we'll create a Text Mesh Pro here. And we've got some text that's showing up here. What I'll do is I'll change its position. Actually, before we do that, make sure that the canvas is set to scale with screen size before you do any of that. And I'm going to position this text so that it's in the upper corner here of the screen. And give this a custom color, like yellow, which didn't seem to change. Oh, I hit the wrong one here, I think. Did I not accept it? Nope, I just didn't drag it to yellow. There it is. And the outline's black, so it's nice and crisp and showing up on there. If I turn on the outline and increase the thickness a bit, it'll be a little bit more visible there. There we go. Nice and crisp, and we can see it. And what I'll do is put coins on here. 0. Okay. So now we've got our HUD element created, and I'll just label this as coin counter. Alright, so we have the coin counter there. And what we're going to want to do is have, when a coin gets selected, it accesses our game manager, increments the number of coins that we've collected, and then have the game manager update the HUD. So we're going to need to drag in our game manager that we created earlier on. So I'll drag in my game manager here, not the script, but the prefab. And we're going to want to open up the game manager script, TMP Pro is already an option. So what we'll do is we'll create a public function here. And this public function will be coin collected. And when a coin gets collected, it is going to call this function on the game manager, and what it's going to do is increment a variable. So I'll create a public, doesn't have to be public, but we'll create an int for coins. And what we'll do is we'll say coins plus plus, increment it by 1. And then what we're going to want to do is grab the input field for this. So what we'll do is I'm actually just going to do a public TMP underscore text, and we'll call this one coin HUD. And then what we'll do is we'll grab coin HUD dot text and set it equal to coins, and we need the quotes here, coins, capital C, colon space, plus coins dot toString. Alright, it's as simple as that. So we're storing the number of coins that we had. This isn't a persistent piece of data where we can have it go to a high score screen and, or say, oh, you only collected this many in this amount of time or whatever. But anyway, we've got coins, and what it'll do is when we collect it, it'll update the HUD. Now all we have to do is inside of our coin script, before we destroy it, we'll say game manager dot, and then we'll look for that function, game manager dot, did I save it? Yes, I did. Maybe I'll and as I see here, I have to make a reference to my game manager. So let's do that real quick. We'll do a game manager is equal to GM, and then we'll do an awake function, and on awake we'll set GM equal to game object dot find game manager. Actually, I think we're going to have to make this a game object for this particular situation. I'm just trying to do it automatically when the game starts. There's a couple other ways we could do this, but I'm just trying to give you the simple here. Alright, so we're setting that game manager object to game manager, and if I say here GM dot get component game manager dot, and then what we're going to look for is is coin collected. So that should do the job. So what they'll do is they'll call that function on that game object that's been set when the game starts. Alright, so let's save these. Save everything here, and I want to go back to my game manager, just make sure that everything's fine there. Alright, so hopefully this won't get destroyed, so there is a chance that this could get destroyed so quickly that it doesn't update the HUD. So I'm going to jump over the game manager, and if we look here, we've got the coin HUD, and what I'll do is I'll drag and drop the coin counter into the coin HUD. And I think that's all we're going to have to do here. So if I hit play, and we look at the coin, and there it is. We've collected coin 1. Alright. That's pretty much it. So from here, what we would do is just prefab the coin into the prefabs folder. And then if we wanted to drag and hide multiple coins in the island here, I'll just put these around me in the general vicinity here. I'll drag another one here. Pull this one. Oh, where did that other one go? Drag this one out here. Pull this one down a bit. And now we should be able to collect all of these, right? 2 and 3. It updates our HUD. Okay. So that's just providing that basic interactivity. So I want you to take this core mechanic and kind of round it out as a game. And there's a set of rubrics that you will see in your assignment that I'm going to expect you guys to hit on for the assignment. And some push it to the basic credit, and then others push it to full credit. We'll talk about that more in class. So that's it for all of the week 1 tutorials. Next week we're going to be looking into interactivity, and I'll be posting some extra credit stuff, throughout the week to kind of keep you guys sharp. I'll talk to you later.